This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We are joined, as we always are, at the beginning of the week by John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. John, good to see you this early in the week. You doing well?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I hope you're well. It's a good way to start the week, talking about Arkansas politics, don't you think?
Always. Well, most of the time. So
I was being really facetious, but it's what we do.
Let's begin with the big news last week. Attorney General Leslie Rutledge exits the Republican governor's race, pivots to the lieutenant governor's race. I guess my question to you is that the best place for her to pivot to? It's a pretty crowded lieutenant governor's field.
I think it's the handiest default place when you really don't want to be anything except governor. So it's the place to go. That's the only reason for the job. I wish we didn't have the job. I wish we just had a line of succession of the governorship that maybe would go to the Speaker of the House or something, so that we didn't have this part-time job existing in a closet with two staff members at the foot of the state capitol second floor stairs, and nothing to do except for people who can't quite get what they want to go wait there. And that's what these folks are doing, and she more than anybody else. But if her plan, if she doesn't really want to be a Supreme Court justice or a judge or something like that, then this was the place to go, because it's default and it's the green room. It's the governor's green room, maybe, if you get lucky. So that's what she had to swallow her pride, because she once said she would be bored in a job with only 2 employees after doing a real job like Attorney General. But, that's a small price to pay for the right place to be, I guess. Do you know whether, and I've got a call in this morning, she still intends to lead this constitutional amendment to do away with taxes now that she stepped down to lieutenant governor? I don't know that I've read that, and I wonder if I missed it, because I've got a call in this morning to see. Thought maybe you knew.
I have been asking for several weeks, if not months, when we would see the details of that proposal and when we would, see some numbers tied to it. And all I get told is that it's coming. So,
well, I guess it would still be, if she abandoned it now, she would reveal it for what it actually was, which was a Hail Mary pass in the governor's race, which fell incomplete. But now she's got to continue with it, I think, to be credible in lieutenant governor. Your question also went to whether she's the favorite or likely to win this. I think so. Her name identification, the money she can move over, sort of goodwill, and she could be like Sarah II, and set up for the governorship. And Republicans might want to give her this consolation prize. I feel like she's the favorite, but I'm amused, greatly amused. And I heard your fine political analysts yesterday, and they're excellent, Kuhn and Barth, say that the Attorney General's lieutenant governor's race is now the spotlight race in Arkansas. I just find that kind of laughable. It's just they have nothing to do. But we'll see how interesting they can keep it.
We shall. All right. We saw after Attorney General Rutledge made her pivot, we saw a plethora of endorsements for Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It was almost like, well, now we can endorse her because there's not a 2-person race going on, although I'm pretty sure most of those endorsements might have gone her way anyway, but it certainly opened up the floodgates for that. Any surprises in seeing all those endorsements roll through?
No, I thought all the members of Congress maybe already had. Of course, they hadn't. Formality and courtesy shows that you show some respect for Leslie Rutledge and not do it until she exits. But it did not surprise me that everybody then got in line, with the slight exception of Governor Hutchinson. He's more moderate and pragmatic than Sarah. I don't know that he is he's distanced himself from Trump. His own nephew, Jim Hendren, abandoned the Republican Party and started this thing called Common Ground, and has not yet said, and I gave him the chance yesterday, that he's definitely not going to try to run as an independent. I'm pretty certain he's not going to. But that one gave me a moment's pause, as did Governor Hutchinson's tweeting Saturday night from Baton Rouge, pictured with Steve Scalise, talking about Steve Scalise as a great American. when Scalise, hasn't yet acknowledged that Joe Biden won the presidency. So I've got a column tomorrow that says Asa has backslid from his moderation and pragmatism at warp speed in the last few days. But other than that, there was, and that's not a great surprise.
All right, you have a column that came out on Sunday. I'm going to quote something from it here because I want you to explain to people that maybe either didn't read it or would like you to.
What? Didn't read it.
This is on the internet and radio. So
okay, cut loose.
The outrage is well placed, but the bewilderment is bewildering. You were referencing the fact that the Arkansas congressional delegation did not line up and support the bipartisan infrastructure package that went through. Why is the bewilderment bewildering?
Well, the letter I referred there to letters to the editor, and there have been several in the last week that were, as I say, people were aghast that all four members and in fact 2 senators before in August, but all 4 members of the House last week from Arkansas voted against the infrastructure bill because infrastructure is popular and Arkansas is in greater need of infrastructure and the money that comes in, federal money that comes in than most other states. And they're saying, how could they vote against it? This is what politicians do, and they want to get their names on things and they want to attend ribbon cuttings, and that's the kind of why did this happen? And then they profess to be, profess not only to be outraged but bewildered. But there is nothing bewildering about it to this extent. This is a new era of politics, and Arkansas politics is all about subservience to Trump. That's what all of our national delegates have to engage with. Trump is still, weary though I am of it, and I hope many others are, he is still the head of the Republican Party, and he is still dominating Republican behavior. And it's because these folks, I don't think they're crazy about him. I think they're afraid of him. I think they're afraid of John Bozeman would probably be afraid of Trump withdrawing his endorsement if Bozeman voted with Biden. And this is not about policy. This is about outrage by Trump and his acolytes that any Republican would do anything that would to which credit would accrue to Joe Biden rather than Donald Trump. That's how small his politics is, and that's how much negative influence he has on our Republican politics in Arkansas. People say, why are you still writing about Trump? Because I think day to day, more of our Arkansas political behavior is explained by the Trump menace than anything else. So that's why don't be bewildered. I'm bewildered that you're bewildered. They're just scared of Trump. And they're scared of these kind of hateful. Have you heard some of these recordings or read some of these things that these 13 Republican House members from around the country who voted for infrastructure to put it over the top, that the kinds of calls they're getting, the threatening domestic terroristic threats they're getting. So that's why that was. There should be nothing bewildering about it. That's all I was trying to say.
I understand that, but when you read the statements that came out from members of the congressional delegation, I mean, to me, they at least had some political cover. They say that the infrastructure bill had a price tag that was too big, that it not only had those good things that you want in an infrastructure bill, but there were elements of the Green New Deal in there that unlocked some sort of socialist version of spending. And then
okay, Roby.
I'm telling you the spin that has come out here.
Well,
why is that not plausible? So.
This is what our dialogue has to do, because when I get out there with too much candor, or get out there too much on one side, you've got to reel it back because of your objectivity. And I appreciate you doing that. But I think all that was blah, blah, blah nonsense. I mean, they're going to vote against making our bridges safer, extending broadband in Arkansas because they're upset that there are electric car charging stations. Really? Building things is the voters of Arkansas passed the constitutional amendment overwhelmingly for infrastructure. And this idea that this thing is not really infrastructure is wrong. There are billions for roads and millions and millions for roads and bridges for Arkansas. But infrastructure is now, can you get fast internet out here in rural Arkansas? And they tell me this, the state legislators are more into that than anything else. Trying to get, they're tired of having all their Zoom meetings crash out in rural Arkansas in this new environment. So I think this was an easy bill to vote for, if not for the menace of Trump. But I appreciate your countering view for the benefit of our viewers and listeners.
To make sure that you can definitely defend your positions. That's my job, John. That's my job.
Well, I mean, it's my view, and as somebody once said of me, he doesn't necessarily tell it like it is, but he certainly tells it like he thinks it is. So that's all I'm doing, and I enjoy the opportunity to do so.
All right, John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Robbie. Bye-bye.